Welcome to How to Train Your Own Service Dog, Part 1, Choosing Your Dog. My name is Kristin. I have multiple sclerosis. So I do have a service dog, and we trained him ourselves. If I tend to stutter or lose my place or suddenly look blank, don't panic. That's the MS, and I'll try not to panic. Here's a disclaimer for you. It will take months of work to train your service dog properly. If you're not willing to put in the time, don't make the attempt. Trying to pass off a pet as a service dog is a federal offense. Okay, that's out of the way. Service dog requirements are actually more lax than requirements for medical alert dogs, response dogs, or guide dogs for the blind or hearing impaired. Service dogs can be any breed or from any background that you like. Now, there are some desirable traits that you want for a service dog. They should be intelligent. Now, granted, this is relative. We are speaking of dogs. But generally, dogs that are bred as companion animals like Shih Tzus will not make good service dogs. I know. I have 2 of them. I love them dearly. They are sweet as hell. But together, they don't have 2 brain cells to clank together. They have to be mild-mannered. They have to be a very mild temperament and cannot be aggressive in any way, shape, or form. They need to be obedient. You need to be able to train them without fear that they're going to lash out one day just because they're scared or because they're high-strung and they're just the type of dog to lash out. So if you have a dog that is intelligent, has mild manners, and is not aggressive, you have a good start for a service dog. Now, if you need to pick one out, is another thing you need to consider. They should have good health. A history of good health and predictors for future good health. Some purebreds, for example, are more susceptible to certain illnesses and diseases that can strike out of nowhere and debilitate or even kill the dog. And after you spent thousands of hours training your service dog, that's not something you want to happen. You do not want a dog that's sicker than you are. And this is why I don't recommend getting a dog from a breeder. Please go to your local shelter. They will help you. There are lots of good dogs waiting for you there. And breeders tend to breed for AKC quality, which means a lot of inbreeding. And you'll have a lot more problems like hip dysplasia or heart problems or skin problems. Just please go to a shelter and find a good dog. The definition under the ADA of a service animal has 2 requirements. One is that the animal has to be trained to perform tasks for the benefit of a disabled individual in particular. The second is that the dog has to be trained to be able to behave properly in public. If you can't control your dog, if the dog is barking or bothering other people or begging or whatever, the owners of the property have the right to kick you out. Just because you have an ID that says that your dog is a service dog does not mean you can get away with anything. A lot of training goes into making a real service dog. Now, the dog's duties will determine the type and the size of the dog you need. Oh, Poppy. Poppy. Had to get his attention. This is Poppy. He is my service dog, and I use him for balance. And hence, he is a very large dog. If he were any smaller, I would just fall over and squish him. Wouldn't do me any good. Now, small dogs are perfectly fine for things like retrieving things off the floor, as long as the object's not too heavy. Be aware that in general, the larger the dog, the shorter the lifespan. And with any dog, you need to be the alpha dog of the relationship. But this is especially important if you're wanting a large dog. If he wanted to, Poppy could drag me all over the place. I know he won't because of his training. And because he knows what Mama says goes. So If you want a large dog, make sure you have the backbone to handle a large dog. Okay, going back to temperament. Your dog has to be easygoing. You're going to be in public with a lot of different kinds of people. There are going to be strange noises, strange smells, strange sounds. Now, a high-strung dog, while it can be fine for at home, won't work well in a public setting. The dog cannot be easily shaken. Now, the best way to test for this if you're going to a shelter is with a tin test. You take a small tin and you put pennies in it and close it up, and then when you have the puppy alone, with just you or just whoever's with you, drop it behind the dog. It will make a clattering noise. Now, the dog will be startled. That's normal. If the dog goes and sniffs the tin, that's a very good sign. It means it's not intimidated by the noise. If they start growling or they run and hide, that's not such a good sign. Now, can it be overcome? Probably. Would I want to start with that kind of dog? No, I would not. You're just asking for more trouble than you need. Okay, the age of the dog. If you're going to a shelter, I recommend about 6 months. Any older than that, and you might have to counteract some behaviors that were taught to the dog by a previous owner, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Any younger than that, and it's going to be a while before they can remember enough to begin training. And once you've chosen your dog, your first step is to get into a basic obedience class. And that's more for you than for the dog. The dog wants to please you. No bones about it. You just have to know how to communicate to the dog what you want. And that's what basic obedience class is about. Now, the tools you're going to need for that, you're going to need a leather leash. I know nylon leashes are very popular because of their strength and all that, but you don't want rope burn. And that's especially true if you're getting a larger dog. Even a dog the size of like a golden retriever can give you some horrible rope burn. You don't want a chain one for the same reason. It will bruise your hands, literally. Obviously, you're going to need a collar, and I recommend using a choke chain. This is Poppy's choke chain. As you can see, it's rather large because he's a rather large dog. You have to have it on properly. It goes behind the ears. Do not put the choke chain around the bottom of the neck. It won't do you any good. That dog will still pull you all over. Having it on properly also means that when you pull on it, it immediately releases. It doesn't stay tight. If I were to pull this through the other way, it would do the opposite. It would stay tight. You don't want to choke your dog. You don't want to abuse your dog. You want a dog that trusts you. And finally, we need to talk about socialization. Your dog has to be comfortable in public. Even before your dog is big enough to be walked on a leash, you or your helper, and I needed a helper at one point, can put the puppy in a sling to take him into public. You can get patches and ID that says service dog in training, and that won't guarantee you'll be welcome everywhere. There are going to be places, probably like restaurants and grocery stores, that will say, no thanks. But most will accommodate you. But go first to stores like PetSmart and Lowe's that don't mind pets. So, that's the first place you should go for socialization within a commercial environment. Now, parks are great as well in good weather. Introduces your dog to all sizes and ages of people. And your dog has to be comfortable with all of them. Because when you take your dog out, I guarantee you, old and young, tall, small, in between, they're all going to come running wanting to look at your dog, wanting to pet your dog. Now, whether you allow them to pet your dog is up to you. Personally, I allow it. Poppy is very much an eye catcher because he's so large, and he loves the attention. So I don't have a problem with it. I allow people to pet him. Other people don't. They want their dog to concentrate. But it's different than a guide dog. That's my reasoning. He's not trying to keep me from running into traffic. He's just there. All he has to do really is stand by me to keep me balanced. But that's a choice that's up to you. Okay, I think that will do it for part 1. Should get you well on your way to having your own service dog. Part 2 will be coming as soon as I learn how to train my husband to do what I tell him to do. That could take a while, but I'll see if we can't do it pretty soon. Thanks and bye.